Considering that the law of diminishing returns may be setting in, I will execute this session with a measure of precision so that we can get going to the next level. Right Honorable Prime Minister Mzee Raila Odinga, the chairperson of the Council of Governors, and all of you governors who are here today, my cabinet colleagues, all of whom have been introduced, and my colleagues across the spectrum of national government responsibility who are here, the principal secretaries, directors who are with us here today, Mr. Speaker, and the members of the Senate, honorable members of Parliament, members of the county assemblies, distinguished delegates, including our development partners, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, you had invited us to participate in a panel on the impact of climate change on global peace and stability. We have submitted to the conference secretariat a very lengthy presentation and a paper on how we are approaching from the security point of view the challenges we face related to climate change. I would like to take this opportunity to request you, Mr. Chairman, to afford us an opportunity to engage in a much more detailed manner with the Committee of the Council of Governors that addresses security, because this matter is even calling upon us to redesign our national security strategy, because truth be told, as my colleagues who are from that sector who are in this audience know, some of the things we are having to deal with or some of the things we are facing are things we were not prepared to deal with 10 years ago. So even when our national security was designed, national security strategy was designed, there are a number of things that no one anticipated that we are having to deal with now. That calls upon us not just to relook at the strategy, but to see how better we can build stronger intergovernmental collaborations to address the challenges we face today and those that we are likely to face tomorrow. The question you asked us basically to answer was, how does it affect us from a security point of view? And in 2 minutes, Mr. Chairman, first, the destruction that we are facing as a result of climate change challenges. No one knew that at this point in time we would spend between 25 and 30% of our operational budget on climate change related security issues. What we are experiencing in Laikipia, what we are experiencing in Baringo, what is going on in most of North Rift today, the movement, the theft of livestock, the pasture and water resource conflicts in that region are all related to climate change. The challenges we face on our borders towards the north and the northern eastern with our colleagues across the border are all related to climate change. And as we go forward, obviously, we're going to have to relook at how we will increase our budgets to deal with this. 2, the greater impact is even in resource and institutional strain. If you look at the number of personnel we are deploying to this conflict, it is affecting and distracting us from the core challenges we face in the security sector. The question you ask every morning is, are you going to deploy to chase Al-Shabaab, or you are going to deploy to chase cat rustlers and livestock problems in Laikipia and other places of the country? So I know it will affect also county governments in terms of how they look at resources, which means it calls upon a new framework and a new approach of budgeting and allocating resources for security, especially to address climate change-related challenges. We have outlined at length a new strategy and a new approach on how we are going to have to deal with this. We are going to build capacity and train better so that we are prepared for this. We are going to develop new structures for conflict resolution. I was speaking with Governor Nderito Mureithi in Laikipia and saying counties that are affected by this will have to start new frameworks of superintending over resource sharing agreements so that we can avert conflicts, which means we have to redesign conflict resolution mechanisms as we go along. 3, we are going to have to relook at intergovernmental alignment between us and county governments. For a long time, I must confess here that we have had challenges to support, for example, the county security committees and the county government's pressure on us to allow them to come up with their new security infrastructures. I think now we can't avoid that, and we can't hide from that responsibility anymore. We have to support county governments to come up with security arrangements to deal with some of these conflicts, because national government in and on itself cannot manage these challenges as it were. Fourthly, we have got to deal with resource alignment. We have to put our money where our mouth is. We are facing challenges which we cannot hide from, and we cannot overdepend on development partners. In our budgeting systems and in our frameworks of dealing with security, we as county governments and national governments, we must now debate how on a year-to-year basis we set aside resources deliberately to deal with the conflicts that are brought about by climate change. Now, in that lengthy presentation that we have filed with the Conference Secretariat, we have discussed the details of what the National Security Advisory Committee has decided to do and what the National Security Council would like to do, how we will deploy some of the resources we have in the country to avert and to quickly respond to some of the challenges. KDF is involved up in Baringo. We are trying to do some water pans. We are trying to see how best we can deploy the resources we have to avert climate change-related conflicts. Mr. Chairman, we need time to go deep into this, and on my own behalf and on behalf of my colleagues, we will be available to sit with your committee that deals with security to go deep into this, and I'm sure we will benefit more from your grassroots-based approaches in the manner in which we will have to redesign our national security strategy. I will leave it at that and do two important things. One, invite the Right Honorable Prime Minister to speak to us, and thereafter, I have been told that His Excellency the President has just logged in, and we will invite him to address us. But first, we start with the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, please.